This is TWiT.
So I like the title of the first one you gave us. This is only a test. So right. Shades of Orson Welles at NASA due to a hot mic or a hot sound input, huh?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this happened on Wednesday night, actually, of this week. And I just got out of my Taekwondo class, and then my phone starts ringing because people are like, all right, you gotta get on this. There's this emergency on the space station. They're talking about an astronaut in distress and the
depressurization.
And suffering from depressurization sickness. The prognosis doesn't sound good, and they're talking about splashdown. And I'm like, you're joking, right? And my friend Robert Perlman and I were talking about it. He called me, and he's like, no, I'm not joking. It's going on right now. And what happened? And this is crazy. Is that NASA, and I believe it's their partners at SpaceX and the International Space Station program, were having a simulation of a medical emergency, to just as they do, because this is NASA. They simulate every type of scenario that can happen, and right. and get ready for it, and know where are the challenges, how do they fix this or not, and for 8 minutes that simulation somehow got mistakenly broadcast through the NASA live space station channels. And it was one side of a conversation. It was a flight engineer, a flight surgeon, apparently stuck in Los Angeles traffic driving to MCCX, which I believe is SpaceX's mission control during joined Dragon ISS operations, asking a lot of questions about the status of the astronaut. She called them the commander. The person's never named, and we only hear her side of the conversation. But it sounded horrible, like a nightmare scenario. She was asking what his pulse was. Is he breathing? Get the oxygen on him, put him back in the spacesuit until you can get him back on Earth to get this pure O2 stuff. And then that she had given numbers for a hospital in Spain that could get him into a hyperbaric chamber as soon as they splash down or as soon as they can get recovered. So it only lasted 8 minutes, and it took about an hour, maybe a little more than an hour, for NASA to put out a tweet on X to say, it was only a test. It was a simulation.
Just kidding.
Yeah, sorry about it. But that's enough time for the internet age media to pick it up and then just go bananas, because no one knew what was going on, right? And in fact, the crew on the space station, there's 9 people up there, 2 Boeing Starliner astronauts with NASA and the 7-person crew of Expedition 71. They were sleeping the whole time. They weren't even involved in the test. And so NASA was really stressing that everything was fine, and their plans for a spacewalk, which is why this caught a lot of attention. There was plans for a spacewalk the next day on the space station, and they're talking about an astronaut in a spacesuit. That was going to go fine, but I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that in our next story.
Well, why don't you just segue into it?
So the TLDR. In your best Orson Welles voice, is that this was a test. I think it gave us a lot of really good insight into how NASA maps out and practices these horrible scenarios that they have to be ready for, so that they know what to do. But all the astronauts were fine. And in fact, Elon Musk and SpaceX both tweeted out that their people are also fine. So no one in danger, just a big scenario, a big medical drill. So that's great. However, I mentioned that NASA said that the astronauts were sleeping and getting ready for the spacewalk. That was supposed to happen the next day after this issue. And before they even started, about an hour before, NASA astronauts Matthew Dominic and Tracy Caldwell Dyson were supposed to spend about 6.5 hours outside retrieving a broken electronics box, investigating. I think they're going to take microbial swabs off the exterior of the station for delivery back to Earth to look at extremophiles. They were an hour before starting that when NASA announced that they had completely canceled the spacewalk, which is really weird because we just got off this fake emergency, and now there's this other apparent issue that forced them to cancel a spacewalk. And they don't cancel spacewalks for no good reason. And after a little bit of waiting and asking NASA what's going on, they put out a very short statement that said it was because of spacesuit discomfort, and then that was it. And it's really, really strange because we don't know what that spacesuit discomfort was. They weren't like getting ready to go outside. I don't believe they were depressurizing the airlock or anything like that. I did hear a call, or I thought I heard a call, so I could have not be remembering it, or I could have misheard it, but I could have swore I heard Mission Control ask one of the astronauts, Matthew Dominic, to look at a helmet for damage, but I can't really verify that because I couldn't find it again when I was trying to find it. Very difficult to go back in that live stream to try to find that exact moment after you hear it, and so I'm not sure like what that means. We don't know what discomfort means. Was something poking the astronauts and they can't fix it? Did the spacesuit break? Did something else happen? We don't know, and so NASA's not really elaborating. So
was it possibly, so we had the problem before of the fact that they've only got a handful of working spacesuits left from these.
That's right.
The suite that they made in the 1980s. Is it possible part of it was either whatever they were about to wear was too small or too large, or they've also got those cinching cords they use to pull them tight?
It sounds like it could be anything. It could be something inside the suit that's poking the astronaut, and it's uncomfortable now, and they haven't spent hours upon hours flexing against the rigidity of the suit outside in the vacuum of space. So they'll have to figure a lot of that out. I would suspect that if it was a sizing issue, that would have come out relatively quickly. Oh, now we have to wait. But this was the first of 3 planned spacewalks outside the space station. Some of them to do maintenance, some of them to do repairs, one of them to go and check out the alpha magnetic spectrometer, that $1 billion+ instrument on the space station, to get it ready for some upgrades, to see like how it will be like for astronauts to work in that area. And they're stalled. They haven't gotten that series of spacewalks started. We don't know when they're going to do it. They might put out an update today with a new schedule, and everyone wants to know because NASA extended the stay of the Boeing Starliner at the station to get this spacewalk started, and then they actually had delayed their return to Earth to the 18th. Now they've delayed, as of this morning, and recording of this episode, they've delayed the landing of the Boeing Starliner to June 22nd. So another 4 days up there, and we're waiting to find out. Which is
pretty brave for a spacecraft that's leaking helium every hour, right?
They say they've got a lot. They shut those manifolds down, so they shouldn't be leaking now, because there shouldn't be anything going into it. Yeah. Or at least it shouldn't be leaking as much, because they did detect a 5th helium leak this week.
But they said they still had 10 times more than they needed. So
exactly.
Hopefully that'll stay that way. All right.
There's a lot of moving pieces for the spacewalk and the return to Earth for that.
So speaking of moving pieces, can you give us a quick rundown on what's changed with Voyager 1 status?
This is very exciting, and this comes out of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory this week. Actually, it came out just the day before we recorded this. But when we last talked about the Voyager spacecraft, and in fact we had a senior scientist come and just give us the whole skinny about it. They had resurrected a signal from the spacecraft. They had restored contact to it, and hooray, right? Hooray for NASA. Yeah. They dare mighty things. JPL got the job done. Well, as of this week, Voyager 1 is sending data back from all 4 of its working instruments right now. That means it's working. It's alive, 1 billion+ miles away from Earth, or whatever it is, 11 billion, so many billions, lots of billions. And it's not just sending beeps. It's not sending gibberish. It's actually sending science data. They're back at it, and they're really exciting. This is an amazing turnaround for a 47 year old spacecraft outside the bounds of our solar system. And I just thought it would be worth celebrating because, I hope I'm as good when I've traveled however many billion miles. 15 billion miles is what it is.
15.1 billion miles. Yeah, and the answer is no, you won't be.
I hope I look as good.
I already am not. All right. Before we roll into our first break here, I just want to say a public goodbye to Bill Anders, astronaut from Apollo 8.
That's right.
Who left us last week. Unfortunately, he was flying. I think he was doing an aerobatic move in his private plane, But whatever happened, he ended up crashing, and we lost him. And Bill I only met him once at an air show, but we had a short chat, and he gave me a very humorous accounting of who took the Earthrise picture and how, and all that kind of thing. But he was just a delightful guy, great sense of humor, like so many of those guys from the space age astronauts, just a real gentleman from a classic mold. And he will be missed. He was 89, 88, 89.
90. He was 90 on June 7th.
Oh, was he 90? Okay.
So and you just as a reminder, you're talking about Apollo 8. He's credited for that Earthrise photo, like the iconic photo of the Earth rising over the moon that put us all in our place. And
he didn't make a big deal about who shot it. It was just more the scramble, as we saw in the Tom Hanks in the Earth to the Moon series about, wait, give me that camera over there. No, hold on, guys, there's time. No. So it was a good story.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip, be sure to check out This Week in Space. You can find us on your favorite podcast app or see the link in the description below. See you there.